You have less than 2 weeks to file your taxes. Yep, it's right around the corner. Tax day falls on April 18th this year. At least 1/3 of Americans wait until the last minute. So if you haven't done yours, you're not alone. But any mistakes could really cost you, and we don't want that. We want to help you avoid last-minute errors. Danielle Gillum and Nelson Bradshaw are advisors with Farther Finance and are joining us live this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here.
Morning.
So what would you say are the most common mistakes that people make, maybe at the last minute?
Yeah, well, I think when it comes down to it, we forget about taxes all year, and then it comes around and it's everybody's favorite time of year, right?
Yeah.
So one-third
really
of us,
right.
1/3 of people, as you mentioned, just wait until the last minute. And it's how do you get everything together in the location that you need in order to make the best decisions around your finances? How do you compile and consolidate all the information? And that leaves a lot of holes in planning, which means we pay more in taxes.
Do you find that some people forget to they fill the whole thing out and then they forget to sign it? Right?
We have seen that, especially when we're doing it ourselves, right? It can be very complex and very overwhelming.
So Nelson, are there certain questions that you kind of get every single year that are really common that we could maybe help answer for our viewers this morning?
Yes. Well, it's after year end. Is there anything at this point that I can do to reduce my taxes? And certainly you can put money away in an IRA up to $6,000 a year. So that's what you can do. But really what you need to be doing is at the time is start planning for the next year. Quite honestly, because there are things you can do in advance to lower your taxes overall.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about that. What suggestions then, and I'll pose this to either one of you in terms of what can you do and maybe thinking ahead. You maybe kind of dropped the ball this year. It's been busy and thinking ahead about how you can save next year.
Yeah. Well, most folks have a tax-deferred account like an IRA or 401k and taxable accounts, and there are definitely different types of investments that you should put in one of those versus the others because they're treated different from a tax perspective. So that's what we really teach our advisors at Farther to do, is to sort of look at that and help them make sure that they're making the right investments in the right account types.
And Daniel, it's interesting, automatically parents were receiving that child tax credit, whether or not they kind of wanted it or not. You know, you only had about a 3-day window every month to say, hey, listen, I don't want this. As a result, I mean, there's probably a lot of parents at least who are in for maybe a little bit of sticker shock when they're maybe not getting back as much as they wanted, or they might end up owing this year.
Yeah, that's right. Receiving that early helped in the interim, but as we go to file taxes, a credit that you may have received in years past has already been given, so your return may be less, or you may owe money, especially as the economy recovered. If income picked up, you may be phased out of that tax credit and you've already received it. So it's very important to understand the different moving parts of your financial picture.
And then just, are either of you hearing anything about backlog? I mean, we've been reporting on it for a while that they just don't have enough IRS workers. They're trying to kind of catch up, but they also have this backlog of like millions of those that weren't filed or have not been gotten to since even last year.
Right. Yeah, usually coming into this season, there's about a backlog of about 1 million, but this year there's about 4 million. So you can probably expect some delays in getting your refund if you are getting a refund this year.
But bottom line, if you drop the ball this year, make sure you're keeping all the receipts, keeping all of the paperwork, everything starting at least, in a couple of months so that you don't get caught up next year.
Yes, and get with an advisor and talk about what it is you want to do. They need to understand the whole financial picture, not just the investments itself. So it's really that planning aspect, and only about 30% of the folks really do anything, talk to one about a plan, and out of that 30%, only 17% act on it. So you can really make a big difference if you'll just think ahead and in the future.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people make an assumption, oh, if I hire someone to do it, it's going to cost me a lot of money. That's not actually the case.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for being here. We really appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.